Can you please introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Pastor Mrs. Glory Ahamefula, popularly known as Pastor Chi. In those days in Nigeria, yeah.
Those days in Nigeria. So currently, where do you reside?
In America, Maryland.
Who is Jesus Christ to you?
I can't. He's undescribable. If I could just put that, who he is to me is undescribable. But Jesus, first of all, is my Lord, and he is my personal Savior. He is the one I have come to submit to. He is the one who died on the cross of Calvary for my salvation. He is the reason why I'm here today. Because if he didn't die or he didn't come, I wouldn't have been what I am today.
You talked about being a pastor. So I may like to ask you, because everyone has a unique point of call.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate and tell us your story, that unique point of call, and how you got into ministry?
The call of God on my life started right from when I was small. And then the Lord started me with like seeing visions, revelations, and when I speak it out, sometimes being a small girl, they're like, for you to be seeing all these things, you must be possessed or something. But then as time goes by, God started using people to declare and to prophesy. You have a call, you have a call. And I also see it in my dreams where the Lord is using me to deliver, especially in the area of prophecy and deliverance. And then when I was in the university, either my first or second year, the prophecy came back again. Then my parents understood it that I should be a reverend sister. And one thing led to another, I found myself in a convent. But I knew that I'm not called to be a reverend sister. So I struggled my way out of convent after so many months and made a promise to God that if the Lord could touch my dad to send me back to school, because when I left the convent, he's like, I'm not going to train you in the school anymore. You have to go and be a reverend sister. And I made a promise to God. I said, God, I understand I have a call. You have shown me and you have spoken through the mouth of many people to me, but I would like to do your work as a married person. And so as time goes by, I see myself getting married to a man of God, and one thing led to another, the ministry started. And here I am today, still doing the same work for God.
Interesting. So how long have you been in ministry?
Over 20 years.
That's a long time. And every profession, and even in the ministry, there are challenges and there are ups and downs. Can you just describe one of those down moments in your ministry?
There are moments in the ministry where it takes grace for one to stand. Ministry, there are two things that matters more in the ministry: the people and money and finance. And sometimes you find yourself struggling with finance in order to do one or two things in the ministry, and it's not coming forth. And maybe the time you needed it may not be the time God actually wanted to release it. But if, like, one or two occasions I've witnessed something like that, and before I know it, God makes a way. But it takes the grace for someone to stand the wilderness period. Because there's always a time of lack in the ministry. And there's always a time of abundant supply in the ministry. But I thank God that during that time, together with my husband, we were able to pass through by his special grace the time of desert. I call it desert situation, when there is nothing. And then the people, in ministry, I discovered that one thing we need, especially on the ship that God has given us, is patience. Because human being is actually the hardest people to control. You can control animal, but when it comes to human, it's always very difficult. But when the grace of God is there helping out, it makes it a little bit easier. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't come. Sometimes you want them to go this way and they decide to go that way. You just be patient, trying to, like I say, good shepherd, that God have called us to be unto his sheep here on earth. Continue to ask God for grace and wisdom to put things together and let it work.
Great. You talked about God making a way. Can you just share on what occasion or an incident where God made a way for you?
Okay, I can liken it to my husband. There was a time he had a ministry to carry out in Ghana, and there was no money. And the day was fast approaching, and the people in Ghana that are getting ready for him to come, it's like 3 days revival, and there was nothing. And just like a day to, he was like losing faith, and I encourage him, don't lose faith, let's see what God will do. He said the money he has in hand is not even enough to take him to Ghana. But do you know what? A day to, in the evening, we got a call from a man. He's not a church member. He's not, I don't know. He's just somebody we used to know as a neighbor. The man said that he has a seed to sow. But the Lord just mentioned to him, sow this seed to Pastor Mike. And exactly the seed he sowed is the amount we are looking for in order for him to make his trip to Ghana and come back. I'm like, this is just God. And the man sowed the seed, and the movement the next day was so easy for him to go and come back. So I look at it that when it comes to God's work, you may look as if, how do I do this? It's not our own making. He that called us, that is why the Bible says, he that calleth you is faithful. Faithful enough to perfect the calling. Faithful enough to make a provision. But all he needs from us is continue to have that faith, be focused, and then it will come to pass.
There are viewers all around the world watching you and listening to your testimony. For people believing God to make a way for them, what can you tell them?
Yeah, the first and foremost thing I have to tell them is keep up the faith. Keep up the faith with him. Because when you keep up the faith, you should not let your faith to waver. Whatever you're believing him for to do, or a way to make for you, just keep up the faith and it will be done. It may take time, like Habakkuk said, though it may tarry, say wait for the vision, surely it will come to pass. God never fails. He is the greatest promise keeper I've ever come to know.
So in closing, do you have final words for the viewers?
Yeah. I have words for pastors in the ministry and even members who are also believing the Lord for one thing or the other. As long as you have come to have a knowledge of Jesus, that he is your personal Lord and Savior, don't look at your wilderness experience. Don't consider it, how am I going to make it? The Bible said in the book of Romans 10, verse 8, it said, consider not the suffering of this present time, because it cannot be compared with the glory that is about to be revealed to you. The glory that is about to reveal is much. So, but during the time of waiting, I always call that time desert or wilderness experience. It's always hard for some people. Are you a pastor? You're believing God for God to show up for you in the ministry. Keep on believing, he never fails. Are you a member, a Christian, who in one way or the other there is something you believe in God, and for you it has passed years the Lord have not visited? Remember, he said at his own time he will make all things beautiful. So when you have that at the back of your mind, your time will come, and when the time comes, everything about you will be beautiful. God never fails, and he will never fail.
Thank you so much for your time on MyStory.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.